Every indicator says that it's all changing, it's all falling apart. We got it. It's going to happen. We've had some events happening recently where it seems like they're lost. The other side doesn't know what to do. They're just each taking blind shots and failing. So
Yeah,
there's no productivity.
I noticed that too. It's like they've always seemed really lost to me and insane. Just, watching their behavior, but also the research that I've done tells me a lot about that. And so I'm always kind of thinking like these people are basically criminally insane. But yeah, if you watch their behavior, it's like one of the things I've noticed that I'm most fascinated by is that they do things that almost seems to indicate that they want to lose. Like you're like, that is really stupid. Like, why would you do that strategically? It's almost like they're kind of dumb, which does fit the research I've done,
Yeah, I'm interested in your research too, because it would help shed some light on why they behave the way they do. I mean, this is just studies. It's just incredible. They don't seem smart, yet they've got all the money and the power. I don't know if it's dumb top down or if it's just I don't know what.
It's like, well, they've taken it through nefarious means, and it's all very. I don't want to offer any offense to anyone who's religious, but I do look at the Christian religion as not just an important example, but also one that's really kind of relevant on different levels, where no Christian I've tried to talk to, just calmly and in a friendly way about this has been able to respond at all, where their whole history, I mean, people were forced to become Christians. They were literally forced on threat of death. We will kill you and your family if you don't convert to Christianity. Here's your choice. It's like, that's not really a choice. And then
that's the screenplay too, CP. It's in the screenplay where he doesn't get the red pill, blue pill choice. He gets red pill or your family dies.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of like you look at what Mel Gibson said. He basically admitted, I have been quiet for the last 10 years or whatever it's been that he stepped out because they basically said they would kill my entire family if I said anything. So, but now those people have passed away.
I did not know he said that because he's a main player in this whole story. This real life story is the main player. He was actually brought in to be the plausible story for how the Wachowskis meet Hollywood producers. He was the bridge they used. And there's no way Mel Gibson's going to meet the Wachowskis when they failed at everything. But that's the story they use now, is that Mel Gibson brought them to Hollywood. Why? Why would he meet them? So it was just they called on him to do that, and then they rewarded him with Forever Young and these other things that he'd get credit for.
Yeah, I think it's important for everybody to use their intuition whenever trying to kind of tell if somebody's real or, there was someone who showed on Twitter the other day, I don't know if you saw this, but they showed a side-by-side screenshot of two different accounts. There were new accounts, and they basically just copied and pasted some programmed script that said, oh, I didn't used to believe in Republicans, but now, the Democrats are so crazy. It was like word for word, just copy pasted. So, they're a fake account. They're basically trying to infiltrate, and all that. So I think with Mel Gibson, whenever I saw him or listened to him, I always got a vibe of like honesty and sincerity and something good about him. I never got a really bad vibe from him. So when I found out that he had left and come back under the circumstances he did, it was like, okay, that makes sense. He was actually threatened because he was actually speaking out about the stuff that's going on.
Right. I mean, I could have gone his way. It's like, I see the same thing. It's almost like a brother. It's like, and people that knew him that worked with me said that he probably could come on board. But I mean, he had his moment where he blew up at Zionists and stuff. He blew up. He couldn't hold it back. Alcohol involved. But the thing was that then he had to retract that. But if your family's at stake, that's what's in the screenplay too in The Immortals. That same scenario, and that's what happened to me. I only have one son left, and it's we have to make a decision. Do we speak out and try to help the world, or do we shut up and let these offers take hold and become like Mel Gibson? So
exactly.
We decided to go the rough route.
Well, there's a couple things I want to focus on today because I know we don't have as much time as we usually have. And you mentioned Zionists. I did want to touch on that and with the architect. I had found something, and I don't remember exactly what because I'm having trouble with my computer and I'm having trouble finding my notes, unfortunately. That's classic, right? But with the architect, I wanted to find out a little bit more about that real briefly, because I had heard reference to it somewhere that it was a reference to the satanic, it was the Masonic Lodge reference to what they believe to be the architect of the universe. I was like, oh wow, okay, there's got to be a connection to the Matrix using that. And then with the Zionists, like you just mentioned, definitely doing research into that. And I'd love to hear your take, because Zion was the name of the city where they were all celebrating.
Right, which is what the scripture was that before I wrote the piece, it was the motivating scripture that propelled me to write the piece, actually. So Zion was specifically the word that I got in the scriptures. So it's like, as a Christian at the time, when I was approaching this work to try to reach mainstream Hollywood with the Christ figure. So since then I've evolved to a different state, but of belief through this process and journey. But at that time, that was a motivating factor, and they mocked it by putting Zion in the film.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And with the architect,
Zion's relationship with religious right as a precarious, unlike the bedfellow situation, and I would love to touch upon that, because they're not good candidates. If they succeed in what their plans are, they'll tear each other apart in the end. In the end of it all. So it's just they don't like each other, and it's like, I'll go into that later on.
Yeah, I mean the movement is, I just think they're all just terribly sick in the head,
insecure,
to do
power hungry. It's like nerds that the parents left the house and they got control of the house, and they're gonna make the rev.
Yeah, and it's weird, because even if you don't believe in the Q stuff, where it's talking about these people having an international pedophile ring, and they're Satanists who sacrifice and eat people, whatever, even if you don't believe that and you think that it's a quote unquote conspiracy theory, like the mainstream media has been instructed to tell us all, you look at the behavior of the Democrat Party, and there are some Republicans, of course, involved in the deep state, but it's mostly the Democrat Party, like Hillary and Pelosi and Newsom and like, of course, Biden, and they've got Harris now, and just all these people, we all know who they are. They're insane, and they're horrible. Like, okay, I was looking at this the other day. I've been aware of this for a long time, as we all have, but like, I just was sitting there like, are you kidding me? Okay, Newsom, for instance, wants to release 18,000, no, actually, total across the country. Trump, just last night at the RNC finale speech, he said the Democrats want to release 400,000 felons into the population. And what do they concurrently just so happen to also want to do? Oh, defund the police. Right. I'm just looking at that, and I'm like, hello, this to me, right on its own, no matter all the other things that they have done, and they're all being, they're testifying under oath, they're being indicted and all this stuff, no matter what else, that right there, that is criminal. It's endangering the population of the United States. It's crazy.
Well, see, what we can do is, this is actually advantageous to critical thinkers and people that have been put on the bottom of the pyramid structure. The elite has we're turning it upside down, where if we let the visionaries and those that are able to actually use critical thinking, our smartest people in this planet, come together and actually, start to call the shots, ground up and restructure, we can have a beautiful planet, a really good world, a benevolent world. And one world society is coming no matter what we do. It's going to happen. So again, in the screenplay itself, it was about, not to toot the horn about screenplay, but it's in there also. Basically a Pelican Brief about everything going on now. But it was about, one world society is inevitable. Why not have a good one? And why not do what we can to usher a good one? If we don't have a choice and it's coming, let's make it the best we can. So it's also an opportunity in chaos like this to restructure things in a good way. A lot of people are afraid of that, on both sides of both parties. And what we don't realize is that the Republican Party is actually infiltrated with basically worm tongues. Trump's main attorney is Jay Sekulow. Jay Sekulow is Pat Robertson's attorney of the religious right. So he has on his shoulder Robertson's attorney. Robertson's been calling the shots of the religious right, the televangelist, with Bush before Desert Storm, things like that, Iraqi war. He has Bush in his office alone prepping him. So this man that wanted to be president, that holds this on me, the reason my life has been hell and my son's killed, really is Hollywood with Robertson, religious right, Zionists with Hollywood and rogue FBI. That's basically what it's been. And some say NSA, yes. But that's what's happened. We hit the nerve right on the head by being in the very organization, at that organization that was formulating this whole thing, didn't have the wherewithal to keep it quiet and started spouting these things off. This young writer at the time picked it up. So I whispered through art. So it's like I'm waiting for the stage to clear that we can actually speak and be heard. There's so many, the other side has been putting so much people up there shouting noise and nonsense and saying, look, these guys represent the other side's voice that's opposed to us. Well, no, actually, let's put the critical thinkers up there like ourselves that can actually weigh evidence, bring evidence forward, and let the society, people decide for themselves what's real and what's not. And they cloak it all with conspiracy theory. Well, the proof is in the pudding. If my sons are dead, then obviously Sophia Stewart claims, you know, oh, you're one of the players, you were in on it. Well, not if my sons are killed. Not if my work has been stolen, if I don't have a dime and I'm being mocked profusely, where Snowden is being, you know, every major network shown and, you know, shown as some great revealer. Both of us that are not are being crucified, wrecked, destroyed, and we don't have a voice except for hearts like yourself that take the time to put us on. So I'd love to see a lot of these voices get a chance to be aired and talk about what has happened and be able to show evidence for critical thinking. That's what we need to do, because they just shove us aside. Mainstream media is not going to air us. One of the keys for people to understand is if the mainstream airs them or shows them groomed and things like that, then chances are they're on the inside. There's a lot of debate about Keanu Reeves right now, and I'm getting a lot of flack for, you know, you're saying Keanu Reeves is good, I think he's good. That's just Hollywood grooming. That's Hollywood PR, and it's showing how effective that PR is. It was the suits that demanded that Keanu Reeves be the lead role as Neo. It was the suits. It was Warner Brothers. They saved his career. So it's amazing that people actually believe he's some good guy. That's all Hollywood PR. That's red pilling by Hollywood.
Point you make in terms of like kind of just what it takes, you know, I really think being bombarded with this media disinformation, fake news all the time, just programming, it takes an extra kind of awareness. It takes what I kind of feel when I do it, and I'm very sort of practiced at doing this because I've been on a mainstream media fast since I was 21 years old, which has been a while. I feel like you kind of have to pull out from this leaning forward kind of energy of, ooh, what's next? Ooh, what's on the news? What's going on? I gotta know. And you just kind of like, for me, the feeling of it is kind of pulling backwards, leaning back on my chair. And when I do that, I actually can see peripherally. It's like I regain my whole vision again. And it's not necessarily literal, like I'm sitting there in front of XYZ and pulling my head out, but it
Right.
is kind of metaphorically, that's sort of the energetic process I go through. And when you do that, it's like you start to just see things for what they are again. Whereas if you have your head all in there and you're engaged and you can't see peripherally, it's just this thing you're supposed to be, they want you to focus on, you
Right.
see what they present you with, and you don't
Right.
have any other reference point to it.
Right, it's basic human fundamentals. It's like if we stay calm and breathe, if we step back, stay calm and breathe, shut off their flow of noise. Because what they do is they're going to keep pounding us. They do it personally with families they're destroying. They also do it in a mainstream way. And what they do is they keep throwing you things to get upset about, red, green, or red, yellow, more events, more that, and they time them. And so it's supposed to keep us always off kilter, off balance, and afraid and jumping and blaming each other. And it's like, that's what they do, like wear a mask. So it's like all this stuff is going on where really we should just step back, like you said, stay calm, look at critical evidence. It's out there. You may have to dig some now to find it because it's being buried. But you know, it's really a matter of just, like you said, you breathe, you stay calm, you focus, think it through, share with others you trust, and weigh evidence. And you'll be able to see what's real. You'll see the forest from trees.
I started writing a book in 2009. Knew I was really onto something. But when I started doing research to see if anybody else was talking about what I was writing about, it scared me so much what I found. I stopped writing for 3 years. A lot's happened since I started writing this book. A lot of things had fallen in my way, as if some force were trying to stop me. Maybe you're familiar with this. You're trying to do something creative in these times. But this was something different, something dark. I think that it is vital for me to share this journey into the darkness and to lead you there with me. I want you to see what I found, but more importantly, I want to show you the solution. I believe that every person needs to understand how thick the mulch be when the hordes descend. I really think that this is a call that I've been drawn to in my lifetime. This is basically a tell-all book. It's going to show you how to survive what's happening. People are going through horrible things lately, and a lot of us are awake. But I haven't seen one reference yet to the very bottom of the rabbit hole. I've only seen reference to the layers just above it. This book exposes what's at the very bottom. In order to survive, we need to confront that very darkest thing. I hope you'll support my project by pre-ordering a copy. It is in its final edit now and will be published soon. Thank you for tuning in and supporting my work. I hope you'll read Zombie Permaculture. Yeah, and you know, what they're doing is becoming, it's just, I mean, it's getting harder and harder, I think, for them to hide it because they're being so overt about it. It's just all in your face. And I have always thought it's always in your face. It's almost like they're gloating, you know, they're sort of like, look at what we're doing, look at what we're getting away with, ha ha ha, you can't stop us. But yeah, it's I think a lot, that's where the silent majority comes in, because people are all watching this, and they're seeing Black Lives Matter, no matter how much the Democrat Party calls it a peaceful protest, they're watching a lot of video footage of businesses being burned down, Black businesses being destroyed, people being beaten. You know, I was watching people leaving the RNC convention last night, and they were being verbally attacked and physically bum rushed by BLM. Literally
it's like we live in a time right now where, as an author, you know, like right now there's 302 attempts still going on in my life. And we went to Texas here, right? And they didn't have a way to have the planted operatives work, so they brought down a mobile unit. It's like a really expensive trailer with this white pickup truck with the water bottles in the back. And at 3 in the morning, we saw this out there. So I went outside because, you know, it was like this activity happening, and they drove away at 4 in the morning, basically. But the thing is, like, FBI, Rogue, it's like Zionists, Robertson Religious Right, Hollywood moguls, they have this stranglehold on writers and other families and visionaries where they're just destroying their families and their work, taking it, profiting off it, and they're all agreeing to do it. But we live in a time where there's like so much noise, there's so much disruption. They're trying to shut down even thought processes such as a writer, I would say, all lives matter. I never dreamed we live in a time where suddenly that become bad or poison to say. How can that be bad? It's like, all life matters, all life, what's wrong with that? It's like, I can't believe we live in a time where that's actually been tabooed.
Well, you know, I just did an interview with a man a local man that I am acquainted with, and he's a storehouse of firsthand, you know, he's got a lot of experience, and he actually had some direct experience with Black Lives Matter in their evolution from beginning through the present day. And I was really blown away by his experience. And so I did a show with him that had allowed him to kind of share that with more people. And what we really uncovered was just this stark truth that the Black Lives Matter group, I mean, I've known it has nothing to do with race for a while now. It's just a front organization. Right. But he gave evidence that is very compelling, firsthand evidence that they actually were funded and trained along with Antifa by a Nazi. And to be more specific, I know that Nazis sort of, you know, that was a different era, but when I use that word, I mean somebody who literally was raised by a Nazi. I will link that in the end of this video, this interview, so people can see that. It's a really long one, but it is really valuable.
I think it's very important. It's very important because Robertson's group is totally Nazis, basically. Elser, Schonoff, Blosser, Heinrich. It's like all these guys are Nazis. They're connected to Nazi Germany from the past. And so what we've done is we absorbed fascists into our country to be a buffer against communism. That's what it really became. They decided that the biggest threat to America was communism. So we used fascists to be a buffer. And that's why Germany is really basically a puppet state of America. And so Operation Paperclip and all that, we brought in these guys, and made them basically heroes. And the plan of the Reich was apparently to go underground and then come up when you disturb and disrupt societies, democratic societies, they then would rise up. That's why the Immortals has that in it. And I got mocked over and over for having Nazi elements in the Immortals Matrix story. It's like, well, that's from research. That's what's going on. I wanted to do something that was plausible for our time, right? Yeah. And so the architect, that's why the architect is that main guy coming back in our time where he wanted immortality, and, you know, now we're facing that also. It's just, I almost wish I didn't write the piece, CP. I wish I'd never done it, that my sons were alive and that kind of stuff. But if we're in this far, we'll finish the journey and we'll do it right. But I hope people wake up and see the real red pill, not the one Hollywood contrived. not from the stolen version. And
Absolutely.
People talk about it all the time. Yeah.
Well, and that kind of gets to my architect question that he is going to represent it. And I'm sorry about the blower. It's obnoxious.
I don't really hear it. It's fine.
God, I can hear it. It's, I can barely hear myself. But so kind of wanted to kind of touch on that because, again, the Masonic history, that apparently that architect was, you know, that was a reference. It wasn't a direct reference necessarily, but I picked up on it right away and I said, oh, I wonder if that's related, because the architect, you know, and that you mentioned Zion, and I was like, okay, I've always wondered about that. Because we have limited time, I want to just focus our time on the FBI and the 302 and your son, because I know those were things that were happening when I checked in with you maybe about a week ago, and I wanted to give you some time to be able to talk about that and explain to people what is, okay, first of all, when you say 302 attempts on your life, what do you mean exactly? What is a 302 attempt? What is a 302?
Basically, a 302 means that you're a mass murderer. You're going to kill your loved ones. You're going to suicide pact and take yourself out. Now,
is it like an indictment or something?
No, it's actually, it's a way for armed police officers who's under rogue FBI to come in with SWAT gear and everything else and claim that they actually go to your neighbors and say, you don't want to see this. When they're coming, their neighbors will tell me, they said, you don't want to see this. And they're coming to take you out. And basically what they're doing is they're claiming you're a mass murderer, crazy, everything under the book, from bipolar 1 and 2 to paranoid schizophrenic to narcissistic to PTSD. They go with litany of things. And you're not. You're an award-winning writer, and you wouldn't be able to write great work if you were. Anyway, that aside, they'll get family members, buy them off, and boy, did they buy off family members, where they're just set with all this like extra rewards, suits, money, house, you name it, trips, and they're supposed to claim that you're suicidal, or you're claiming you're suicidal. Now with that in place, even though you're not, they start to operate a 302 system. And this is done in our country to take anybody they want off the map. If they can do it to me, they can do it to anybody. Because I'm like, you know, as an A student, I was like, wrote about loving each other, lifting each other. All my work was that way. A peace screenwriter for Off-Broadway, never had a criminal record, don't drink, don't smoke, anything. Doesn't matter. So what they do is they claim you're a 302 and you're gonna kill your son, kill your family to try to isolate you, but also say that you should be taken out. Now, by calling a 302, they can come into your home anytime, usually at night where you can't contact attorneys or anything. And they can take anything you have as evidence. So they get your screenplays, they can take writer's work, they can take any discs you have, thumb drives, any evidence, they can take it away. Your computers, it's all theirs now. And when they put you away on a 302, if you survive it and they don't take you out, then you're taken away to a crisis center. And get this, Warrington Township, where my parents are, where I was caretaking them, they just made a new rule that the psych departments are now blended with the police department because they failed in their 302 when they was there the first time. So what they do is they blended the departments now. That way they can rubber stamp you immediately. Police pick you up, they rubber stamp you as crazy, you're shut away for good. No recourse, no attorneys, nothing, you're shut away. It's a way that they can take anybody away and you're locked away for life. As a crazy criminal person, so that, you know, your rights will never be addressed. You'll be looked at as if, you know, you didn't have a claim and that whatever you said was nonsense. Your children are then programmed through social workers that are supplied by Robertson's group or these corrupt groups like Brian Fitzpatrick, who's a congressman in Pennsylvania, also FBI operative in Hollywood. Same, you can't be that. He's got it set in place where it would be like social workers would then tell my son, my last surviving son, that his dad was bad, crazy, narcissistic, give him to another family member that was bought, and he gets re-indoctrinated. Now, I would be shut away, I'm told, and what would happen would be that if I behaved myself, which means don't say anything about what had happened to me or talk about the evidence, don't talk about the immortals, then I might get to see my son again. And if I actually write for them, my ideas, give my ideas over, write for them, then I would have permission to see my son once in a while, even though he'd be turned. That's my life.
So this is all happening to you more recently, that they are cracking down because you are winning the chess game. And people, who told you this? Like, who said this all? Is this
These are contacts from Disney. I have a lady named Patty Brewer, who is, she's an attorney, and another guy named Daniel Levin, who's with Disney. And I've got other people, Paul Martin stepping forward, said, you know, will this happen on set? I've got different people that are contacting me that basically answer all my questions, right? They tell me exactly what's going on. And that turns into a situation where if I tried to speak it out, I would seem crazy. But now, since we're winning the chess game, as they said, she even said, you know, you've won the chess game, Tom. And she would answer my questions like, I'd say, well, why are they doing this? And Patty will go, well, it's all about power. And I'd say, well, you know, don't they believe in, you know, doing benevolent work and working as a service through your writing to lift humanity and bring humanity? No, they don't believe that. You got to understand, Tom, it's all about power, and you're a threat to their power. Now they're afraid of your power. So these things, these dialogues go on, and I record these conversations. And so I have that for posterity.
Okay, and so you've had these conversations with these contacts that are telling you that the FBI is kind of coming for you, and they have this 302 plan. Now, I have a question.
It just happened. It just happened. I just want to share with you that it just happened. I took Aiden to Texas, right? So we can be with the family, because I was told they're not going to stop. They were showing up in front of our house. They got screamed at by this guy in a truck who's an operative. And we learned that the chief of police is with the FBI under Fitzpatrick. My sister's completely bought off. She said she'll never stop. So, okay. So I moved Aiden to Texas with me. My mom helped fund that, right? So to get him to safety, she helped set that up. And she was under threat too. So what happens is they take that opportunity to send police officers out, call child services out to the home, and make a claim through my sister and Fitzpatrick that that my mom was afraid for where Aiden's life and didn't know where he was. Well, she was the one helping to fund the trip. Why are you sending police officers out to apprehend me, officers, when I'm in Texas, and it's on Facebook that I'm in Texas, and they're saying in the report they know I'm in Texas? So why are the police officers being sent to my house?
That's really weird. They're angry. So okay, so you're actually experiencing like this sort of physical manifestation of these. So one thing I wanted to clarify for the viewers, my familiarity with the 302, it relates to the investigations into the fake, you know, the Russiagate hoax. There was a 302, which was, I understand, to be a document that was basically the notes, the handwritten notes that were taken during the initial some kind of meeting that happened where the original notes were sort of hidden, and they replaced the original sort of 302 document with those notes with a typewritten one that was changed. And that's what I know of a 302. So that's why I was asking, what is a 302 here? It looks like it sounds like it's a code they're using to describe this type of plan.
Well, it's actually a how do you say it? It's like a clinical thing or a law. If you 302 somebody, that means they are like a Jeffrey Dahmer or a Helter Skelter guy. You know, it's like, it means they're the top criminals, FBI wanted, mass murderers. It's like being Hitler. So they can take anybody like Dr. Seuss, you name it, and say, oh, he's going to kill his family. He's
justify labeling you that, though, when you don't have a criminal record, and we all it doesn't make any. How can they? There's literally
they got their own guys. That's why I said the psych department's blending with the police department now, which is unheard of.
Yeah, so it's like
just say, yeah. What they do is they go like this. This actually happens. They put a guy on the monitor, right? They make you sweat it out, wait, right, in a holding area. Then they put a guy on the monitor who claims to be a doctor. Maybe he is, maybe he's not, right? And he asks you, this is what I was asked. Are you taking medication? What medication are you taking? And you're saying, well, I'm not on medication. I don't have a record. I don't take medication. What medication are you taking? I'm not taking any. What medication are you on? I'm not on any. Then he goes, okay, wait a minute. Goes off and says, you should be committed for life. That's it. That's how you do it.
Do you have an attorney? And
I do have an attorney. Yeah. And we just found out through a subpoena that they did not honor. We found out that the clinician that my sister and Fitzpatrick bought off, they refused to send forward the document that I had made. Like, I went through 14 sessions to protect myself from this kind of thing, because it was threatened for Robertson's group. They would do this, right, in Hollywood. So I went ahead and got a diagnosis done, like 2 days of testing, just to prove, normal guy, good guy. And it turned out that the one doctor was like, okay, you turned out to be tremendous empathy, as she said in the report, and gifted genius. And she said that according to the IQ tests and things like that, variety of tests, and that you suffered from PTSD from the loss of your sons, but you have rose-colored glasses on when you're trying to make that everybody's good. That's not a master criminal mind. That's somebody who wants to believe everybody's good. So that's not a bad thing, right? So that was my diagnosis. Now, she got approached herself and told not to make this report. Well, how'd they know, And so she said she was scared to make the report. And I said, well, just do your job. You're on the winning side. This is to protect my family. So just speak it as it is. And she did and gave us the report. Now, my sister, who's bought by Brian Fitzpatrick, who's with Spielberg and Hollywood, was saying, you know, he faked it. Well, how do you fake 2 days of testing? And why is she in the field, unlicensed in the field, if she claims that's what happens? It doesn't sound like a good field. But then I went to this other clinician and this young girl, same deal. Let's get something done so we can protect ourselves. So we had 14 sessions, and she drew up this PTSD only, you know, great guy. She even explained to me, you know, paranoid schizophrenic is a Hollywood term that Robertson was trying to launch. So what happens is, as soon as this document gets in the hands of Fitzpatrick and the sister, they contact a clinician, buy her off in her head, this guy named Richard, who's in sanctuary counseling, and get them totally turned around. And so what they do is, after these 14 sessions where last time I saw her was shaking hands, great working with you, yeah, you're only PTSD, that she'll show it's only PTSD, got the document, and an affirmation of life where, of course, I love my son and family, I would never harm anybody, that's all for protecting me, right? So they approach her and turn it all around to bipolar 1 and 2. What, we never had a meeting after that. Schizophrenic with paranoid tendencies. Now Robertson got what he wants. And everything else under the sun. So it's like, how can you do that when there's no more sessions and when you've been approached by the other side? So that's what it became. They use anybody they can, child services, you know, Center for the Aging, anybody, to try to lock you away. Now we're subpoenaing records from child services who have said, you know, these are bogus claims. Shot a letter from them saying this is a bogus claim. They're trying to say you're going to harm your son. We're not even buying this. We're shutting it down. So they went to Center for the Aging. They go and they're saying, oh, he's abusing his parents. Like, no, my parents like, he's the greatest guy in the world. He takes care of us. We love him. He's always been sweet and wonderful. So that didn't work. So they go to the commissioner and say, oh, well, he's going to kill his family, his parents and his son. What? So they don't stop. These guys, what you learn, besides being dumb, they don't quit. Fitzpatrick doesn't quit. Brian Fitzpatrick in Pennsylvania, a congressman, he doesn't quit. And you look at the awards these guys get, it's off the charts. I want to show you something, if I may.
Yeah.
I want to show you an example of rewards that you're going to, I think you might like this.
I want to make sure I have it set up where you can share.
All right, see if you see it.
Sure. Multiple participants can share, so you should be able to share.
Okay, watch this. Do you see this?
Yeah.
You know who that is?
No.
It's my cousin Todd. My cousin Todd. I was so close to Todd.
Okay.
This is a picture taken after he turned on me, after he's bought off, after he joined the 302 effort. My cousin, Todd Hilsey, joined the 302 effort with my sister after he was bought off. Now, here's my sister. Look at this. My sister in the red dress, of course, which is the Hollywood dress, right?
It hasn't switched over. You have to, I think you have to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me get back on this.
Reshare, maybe?
I'm going to reshare. I'm going to share the screen.
So basically, the brother was kind of
my cousin. Okay, you see it now? I'm doing a side by side.
There we go. I can see them both now.
Now look at this. These people are monsters. My sister, Julia Zarco, is not smart, right? She's not even licensed. She's a school psychologist or school counselor for elementary school, Rolling Meadows. That's it. But Brian Fitzpatrick has taken her under his wing, and suddenly this Brian Fitzpatrick, who works for the FBI, has my sister, works for Hollywood, has my sister, see that plaque right there? Rewarded for president of school psychologists, rewarded for top psychologists in the state, rewarded on the floor of Congress after the failed 302 attempt by this clown over here, Brian Fitzpatrick, on the floor of Congress, held up as this great national treasure, gets trips to the Caribbean, to London. She's only a school counselor, right? That's it. And she said that if she supported me at all, or stood up for me at all, or related with me, she'd lose her marriage and her jobs because of this guy. And now she's being divorced by her husband finally. They failed at the 302 attempt, so she's out. Now, that monster used to be my sister. She is the one that said she's never going to stop. And she said, if I'm not evil, she's evil. And is the one trying to get all family to put me away as a 302 and separate me from Aiden. Now look at
right. And so, so then what's going on with your son? Where is he and how is he?
He's now in Texas. He's now in Texas. But look at this, first of all. Look at this with my cousin. Armani, Ferragamo, Boss. Yeah. All this is given to him when he sells out the next day. Look at the modeling shot they did. And he gets to be in the Supreme Court. He's not even an attorney, but he wanted to be in the Supreme Court. All these things happen to them when they sell out because of this gentleman here who's actually Congressman FBI Fitzpatrick, who is part of anti-corruption, who's now trying to bring down Trump and is saying that, you know, they're going to go ahead and said that he didn't do it properly, that they didn't help them down this Ukrainian prosecutor, Viktor Shokin. So this is a cover article by local news for Fitzpatrick.
Well, and we know that Ukraine is actually a Biden scandal. One of the classic things with these sickos is that they project their crimes onto their opponent or their victim or their target. So over and over, everything that they're accusing other people of is just what they're doing, and it's pretty much that's the formula. If you just flip it on them, then it all makes sense. And that's what they're telling us.
Right. That's the playbook.
Yeah, and so like
talking points, right? Those are what.
So
talking points.
like when Hillary said, that she's saying just recently, like Biden cannot concede. It's like before that, weren't they all just saying that Trump wasn't going to concede and leave, and they were going to have to carry him out? Well, wasn't that really they're telling us? Or they're telling each other, who knows, that they're actually not going to concede, and they're going to have to be dragged out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that I've noticed. It's a psychological thing. Well,
they use the word delusional. They love the word delusional. It's like, how we were talking about they're not that bright, so they always use the go-to words. So delusional is what they throw at any visionary, any author, any accomplished person. They're going to say delusional. So that's the go-to word. They love it.
Well, I want to really provide the viewers with some kind of comfort here, because this is a really shocking and scary scenario that you're describing. And that's why I asked you have an attorney, and we see what's going on with you. It sounds completely awful and scary. It's kind of like the nightmare scenario that they depict in movies like The Changeling and stuff like that. What's going to be done about this? What what is your plan to fix this? And do you feel safe?
We're subpoenaing every report, police report, corrupt police, child services, Center for the Aging. We're going to go ahead and file a case. And that case is about, it's a federal crime to do false federal reports on someone. A 302, that's as severe as you get. Now, it's going to be easy to show that, obviously I'm articulate. I've done my work. I got the copyright, got this thing right here. And I've got, so I've done my work and everything. There's no way they're going to pull this off if we go through proper channels, right? And so I would say to people, if you go through this kind of thing, if you've, basically if you've written great work and they want to take it, their 302 is the go-to. If you're a somebody who's going to start speaking out truth and things like that, they're going to ban you from Twitter. They're going to block you from Facebook. They're going to go ahead and cut you, isolate you, buy off family, and try to shut you away for life. And that's their go-to thing. They'll also claim that you're suicidal, because that sets up the scenario where if you take yourself out from all the horror, mission accomplished. They actually say that they celebrate. These guys will celebrate that are supposed to do that. It's horrific. And so what's really interesting, if you tap onto Jerry Falwell right now, right? What is Jerry Falwell saying? We have talked about in interviews about Robertson's connection to Disney, sex rings, Falwell's connection to sex rings, and what's going on in Hollywood, right? Okay, they're all connected. Jerry Falwell just made a statement, and it's great, it's perfect. He's basically saying that if he's caught, that is just because he's honest guy, basically. Basically what they're gonna say is, the ones that aren't caught, that appear really good and nice and conscientious, like ourselves, we're the worst. We're the most evil because we're getting away with it. Warner Brothers' philosophy they're trying to propound to the public is that everyone's dark, everyone's evil at their core, and therefore, what's that doing? That's saying that they're not bad for their sins, they're not bad for doing wrong, if you will. They're actually just honest and got caught because they're not as clever as the really bad ones that are the ones that actually are talking good things, mean purity, are trying to bring good in the world, like myself, like you. We're considered by Falwell in a statement to be the worst. We're the most evil because we're getting away with evil.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just projection again. I think it's really good and comforting to me hearing what you're going through and hearing that you're going to be following the correct channels and actually bringing a case against them, and you've got an attorney. Now, do you have like bodyguards or like
I've had offers for bodyguards, ex-military, ex-special forces have been calling because of interviews, and they're saying, I feel called to be your bodyguard. That's really cool. So it's like, yeah, so I'm getting offers to have that happen. At the same time, I'm getting offers from Hollywood to be set up now if I don't do the Immortals. So now I'm getting offers to be set up. So like even want to go to Uruguay, I'm being offered that I'll work with other writers, but I won't get credit, but I'll be set up where I'll be able to have a life with my son and be safe finally. And they'll provide bodyguards.
Do you have that stuff in writing? Like I would encourage you to hold that up.
I have it on tape.
Yeah, share. Okay, I would encourage you to, if you want, you can give me some of that. But I think it's good to document. You sounds like you are. So that's
yeah,
good.
I want to do it right because I don't think a lot of people have the ability to do this to get this far, I'm so far down the gauntlet now, right, CP, that my son even says, we got to do this. We got to finish this.
Well, my gut tells you tells me to tell you to say yes to one of these ex-military special force bodyguards or more, to have like a security detail, because if they're actually doing this to you and parking in front of your house in the middle of the night and threatening to come into your house.
Last night. Yeah, just last night it happened.
Yeah, you need some security. That sounds like it's a formula for some bad, you're like they could take you out in the middle of the night and then they would be able to say, oh, Tom Althouse committed suicide.
You know those black helicopters that circled? We had footage. I think I showed you the black helicopter.
I didn't see the footage. No.
I'll send it to you in Pennsylvania. Yeah, the footage of the black helicopter circulating. And what happened was, let me see if I have it right here. But yeah, they were circling the house. I think I have it right here. What's really interesting is they did it in Texas too. So
well, are you familiar with a kill switch?
What's? Oh yeah. No, I heard the phrase.
Yeah, well, basically a kill switch is where you set. It's what Anthony Weiner did with his laptop. You get it all onto something that's going to be on. It's all set up to be automatically released to the public if you're killed. And
well, here, I want to show you this right now. Watch this.
I would recommend that you maybe think about that just from what you're telling me. I'm pretty traumatized from what you're telling me. That's awful what they're doing.
Watch this right now. Watch this.
You have to share your screen.
Okay. This is at my parents' house in Pennsylvania, and they had 2 black helicopters under this man right here, Deal, who has the FBI brick behind his face, who works for this guy, Brian Fitzpatrick.
All I see is like a tree. Okay, it looks like it's just going really.
That's a military helicopter
circling the house.
right there. It just kept going around and around and around. 2 of them kept going over the house, around and around. Now that just happened in Texas.
Circling. Exactly.
What do you think that the helicopters are? Do you think it's FBI?
Well, this is FBI. This is FBI and local police. They gave this Deal guy. Deal guy actually has SWAT team now. Warrington Township only deals with shoplifters basically, but he's got a whole SWAT team now and helicopters. So yeah, this Deal right here.
The second one again here.
So they play with their toys, right? Under this guy, Brian Fitzpatrick, FBI and congressman. Now this footage I just showed you, I'll pause that. That was going on over Pennsylvania. It just went over Texas. So they're showing that we can reach us in Texas too. It happened when I was in California. So the rogue FBI is involved with Hollywood because they control content of films for national security, they would say. Now, FBI is also involved with harming a lot of our citizenry and trying to use screenplays to fund operations. They're in with the pedophiles. So now Hollywood and media is now blaming the FBI for what's going on. So you're seeing that happen with stories like Richard Jewell and things like that, which is test runs for our story, the real life story. So what's happening is there's a lot here. The FBI has been the main baddies in what's happened in our country. And in the Fitzpatrick article, Congressman Fitzpatrick, he says that the entire law enforcement apparatus agrees on who should go down, who should be elevated, who should go down. So that means our country is working against our own citizens. They're part of this idea of everybody's bad. So therefore, anybody who's good is a threat to our national security, really.
That actually has an interesting kind of a logic to it if you are a nut job. Yeah, no, and I wanted to kind of call this back to, again, I like to find connections and kind of talk about that, where we're all kind of, instead of this looking like it's a tangent, to show how it's connected. Well, the FBI being corrupt and the swamp not being all the way drained yet, that falls in line, in my view, with James Comey, how the corruption that he's guilty of. I saw a tweet that was retweeted that was by him yesterday that said, that he didn't know why anybody would want to come after and want to investigate him. Like, he's trying to pretend to be innocent, where wasn't he the one that was, Obama led it. We think that Comey was head of the FBI at the time, right? When Trump was, the whole Russian collusion hoax was started to try to get him out of office, and there's zero evidence found to show any collusion whatsoever. And in fact, this goes back to that projection where actually, so they're trying to say Trump was trying to collude with Russia. Well, really what's going on is the Democrats are colluding with China.
That's what Fitzpatrick's doing. See, Fitzpatrick is blaming Trump, and they're trying to cover for him. He's blaming Trump for what happened in Ukraine too. The FBI that's rogue wants to control the world. They basically want to control the world. They want to police everything. And if they don't like somebody, they agree to take them down. And that's what's happened in Ukraine and other places, and including this country. So they're really operating on the belief that everybody's evil at core. So let's just make the best evil world we can, basically, where we run it. So yeah.
I'm curious because you said something earlier that was interesting to me that I want to go back to, and it ties to what we're talking about right now, where you were saying that Trump's lawyer is actually corrupt. Yeah, and that kind of like is really unfortunate because he's got, you know, advisors around him, and some of them could be moles and feeding him bad information to keep him from being as successful as he possibly can. And you look at, you know, Fossey. I mean, good God, that guy is obviously like telling the American people he's part of the deep state. He's, you know, he does admit that masks don't work, but then he went and wore one and all that. Just, you know. So the FBI, I know that Trump was draining the swamp. I haven't really heard a lot of talk about that lately. You know, obviously it hasn't been fully done, and I'm kind of wondering if maybe there's just a lot on Trump's plate right now, and there's just, you know, doing a lot. They're doing a lot.
It happens to me too. It happens to me too. I have handlers, but I know they're handlers. This man right here is a Zionist handler. So he's his bridge for being a Zionist with Robertson. So to make the Zionists and Pat Robertson work together, you have Jay Sekulow, this man right here. He's a monster. So Jay Sekulow is the one controlling, as personal attorney for Trump was, and Jay Sekulow is the one that Robertson picked to be his head of the Law and Justice Center, which Robertson instituted so he would never be a second-class citizen. See, that's why he created it, he said. So that's what's going on. And so right now, Trump is in a situation where he's got this monster on his shoulder, like a worm tongue from Lord of the Rings, right? And this monster has, through Robertson, has Jerusalem, the attorneys in Jerusalem, and also the military leaders in Jerusalem under his office, also in different countries, where Robertson can control worldwide countries. That's what he's doing. See, Robertson lost his presidential bid in 1988 and blames me for it. That's where the Matrix story genesis comes from. My experience where he was grooming me to be the face of the Christian coalition, but I was too pure. I was too, quote, straight-laced. I didn't answer the questions right. I was supposed to say that it was going to be okay for them. Let me leave the share. Oh, not leave meeting. I'm sorry. I'm trying to leave the share here.
You are.
I can see again. You see me back? Am I back or am I not?
Yeah,
back?
you're back. I got you.
Okay, good. So what they're doing is they're asking me a series of questions to see if I'd be loyal to Robertson and his plans. That's why I got all this information, right? So I was being groomed to be the face of the Christian coalition while he's running for president. And since I did not answer the questions right, such as, you know, the Better Business Bureau wants our financial records, Tom, what do you think we should do about it? And I said, well, if we have nothing to hide, give it to him. Wrong answer. The answer was supposed to be, well, we answer to God, not to man, Mr. Robertson, so we don't have to do anything to them. We're answering to God. That would be the right answer. So that's why the other guy got the job, not me. They had a wife picked out, mansion, everything for me. If I'd be the face of Christian coalition, blue eyes, dimples at the time, you know, more hair.
I want to definitely talk more about these Zionist handlers. I'm very interested in these people, and I've been trying to find a picture that I had seen a couple years ago that is now buried on the internet, and I don't know where I saved it to, so hopefully I will find that again. But it was with Barack Obama flanked on either side by these guys, and in this picture, these guys were dressed in the traditional garb of these people, and they were wearing these black hats with the wide brim, and they had the full beards and the full sideburns trailing down. Now this is the same people, I believe, and I'd like to just have you talk a little bit more about them if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely. See, a lot of it's costuming too, I believe. I believe all people matter, all people are good, basically at their core. Now, Warner Brothers and Robertson's group believes that all people are bad at their core, right? His philosophy is that if you're successful, God has blessed you. If you're not successful, even if you're stolen from, then you're just a wannabe who's jealous of the successful people like Robertson. That's how they can control their world too. And that all people are evil and dark at their core, therefore he's the best you can get. So it's a way to insulate themselves from any critique or ridicule. But the thing is that a lot of these things are set up where the Jewish people are not benefiting from these actions either. It's like this whole state of Israel and things like that. They set it up to be basically a banker state. And Robertson's group is pushing for Jewish people to go back to Israel. Well, that's not a good idea because they're setting up for a big war. They do want to have the Armageddon. They want to have it. That's what's in the Immortals also. So what they're doing is they're setting these lambs to the slaughter. There's like, go be with, you know, if you're a real Jewish person, you'll be in Israel. Why? Why can't they just be anywhere in the world making a difference where they are and loving their family and living their life and believing their beliefs? No, Robertson wants them in a certain area for his policy and what he's planning. Same with the prime minister in Israel. That man has been nefarious. It's just dark and working with Robertson, but they hate each other. They both sides believe they're the chosen race. Robertson's group with the Nazi carryovers, they'll tell you when I went to his organization that we're chosen by God out of all people on the earth, that we're the chosen race, we're the chosen people. And that if we're with Robertson's group, any other religion is outside of God's plan. And we can do anything we want with them. We can take anybody's wife, we can take anybody's money, we can take anybody's intellectual property, anything we want, we can take it because we're the ones that were chosen in the womb before we were formed to be God's chosen, where if we sin, Christ will weep, and we only increase grace, and that we're the ones that no matter what we do, murder, steal, kill, rape, God's still going to take us home because he loves us and selected us before the womb. It's incredible. So that's the doctrine he's given his people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. And so this kind of brings me back to another thing you had mentioned earlier I wanted to go back to, and that's, you know, you were talking about fascism. And I really find it really fascinating because back in the day, fascism and communism were like these, they were fighting against each other. And what I find so interesting is that I'm finding that the roots of BLM are fascist. They've been trained by a fascist, like a guy who, I almost said zombie, that's funny, a Nazi who, you know, just basically tutored this guy who is funding BLM. And I'm noticing that BLM, whole radical left thing is like basically communist. They're basically like doing what they're trying to set up this socialist state where they're removing the Constitution and trying to take over America and remove what we are and replace that. And so I'm fascinated by the idea that they're funded by a Nazi ideology and yet they're pushing communism, and those two things used to be opposed to each other. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, you have a battle for the one world society. What is it going to be? And these guys that are the elite that want to hold on to their power, most of the jobs their attorneys are doing are protect their wealth, protect their power, right? Nothing about helping out a society. And so the people they elect and put in place are supposed to do that also. And so whenever you have an organization where certain people rise to the top, like Falwell's organization or Robertson's organization, or even Hollywood, there's not good people usually, not good at all. They've been tested, groomed, questioned, and they pass the test for being rotten. And they are raised up because they'll be loyal. So you can just count on that. It's not often. If FBI too. If an FBI head is rotten at the core, you can bet your boots that those that are being promoted under him are also rotten at the core and been grilled and tested. They're not stupid. They know what's going on under them. They know that the children are being kept. They know that the stuff is being done to other citizens. And I was questioned and grilled by Masons, like Lauren Holmberg, the operative, CIA operative that was with the Masons, and his friend Paul. They were questioning me saying, you know, we're fans of your work. It's amazing what you did. Now you're one of the elite. We're going to give you stuff that's going to blow your mind. Just don't try to make a difference. And I answered that question wrong, just like I did with Robertson's group. You know, I said, well, I think I can. Wrong answer for them. Right away, you're going to get cut. But basically what's going on is you have this mix to confuse the public and confuse the critical thinkers, where you have like the Democrats doing wrong, but you also have Jay Sekulow with Trump, and what they're doing is trying to use the church, they're trying to use Republican Party as a vehicle to get their way. So they weed in, they kind of commandeer it, and they act like they're lambs when they're actually the wolves using a vehicle to get where they want. And in fact, when I was approached on a trip with Harry Sova, who's at Jerry Falwell's organization, that's why Jerry Falwell's falling right now, is because it's coming out about Harry Sova, Robertson's connection with sex rings, Falwell's sex rings. And basically what's going on is they're all starting to be unraveled and revealed on their core philosophies, which is that we are all evil, but they all operate a sex ring. See, so Jerry Falwell, when he took that pool boy, he was 20 years old when he took the pool boy and offered him a business, that's what they do. I was being taken by Harry Sova, associate dean at Robertson's University, now Falwell's University, sex rings there, and being offered position, top position with Sova, but he also wanted me to sleep with him and become a sex boy and said about the ring that's going on with Robertson's group and everything else. I didn't comply. I was roofied and went through a horrible thing which caused me PTSD on a trip alone with him in a motorhome to DC. And I have a reprimand letter that was given to him that no one's ever supposed to see that I can provide you that says he was wrong for what he did. He's now at Falwell's organization. So what's happening is it's all cracking now, but it's a battle over who's going to control the one world society. And that's a big battle.
Okay, I got you. So that's why we're seeing, and this really, really fits with some of my research showing you know, this is really kind of classic, actually. It's classic propaganda disinformation, where they'll put a little bit of truth in, so that you're like, oh, okay, no, that resonates. And so then you can't just say black and white, that's wrong, that's right. That has a little bit of truth in it, that has a little bit of wrongness in it. What do I do? And you're kind of less likely to be able to see, like you're saying, the confusing the public and the critical thinkers. Now, I think it's really important that the example you showed with this Zionist handler standing next to Trump, our president, these Zionist handlers, I think, are a lot more dangerous than anybody has really addressed that I can find. So if anybody has information about these people, please contact me. I'm very interested. And any imagery is really excellent. Now, that guy, you mentioned something about costumes, and that guy was not dressed in the costume that I would have, you know, been looking for. He didn't look like a quote unquote Zionist Jew. You know, so talk about that a little bit more, if you would. We only have a few more minutes, but so I just want to
certainly. They believe the public's dumb. That's the thing. I wrote my screenplay because I believed the audiences are intelligent and can grasp this stuff. They can if they have the right screenplay and the original story. But the thing is that Hollywood believes, and Robertson too, that public is dumb, right? They're stupid. So they don't really spend that. They like to mock the public. That's why all my materials insert in the first graphic. They mock the public with obvious, right in front of your face, out in the open, and silly costumes, things like that, because they think that public is dumb. So what happens is that's part of the way of them feeling clever. And like I said, Hollywood's currency is really being clever. That's what it is. If they feel clever, they feel like, you know, they trumped anybody who's going to be smart or do great work.
Well, and isn't that a reflection of what you said about the Wachowskis and how they were mocking you for having sort of won and beaten you by putting that information in, like slipping the screens in that actually kind of like reveal that they did this
the high school and everything, Like but see, that's what it is. Yeah, they believe that then, you know, audiences are dumb, and the audiences are going to believe that, and then they feel that they've won because they've snowed the audiences. Audiences need to wake up. I mean, you got all this evidence in front of you, and people like myself, like yourself, we're dying breeds. It's like we're drowning, and we only have a little bit of time to try to save our family and people to get it. Right now, we're drowning, and one by one, we're being knocked off, right? With 302s and system set that will do this. But public isn't stupid. You can figure this out. And we need your help. You know, we need your help, because pretty soon it's going to go silent. You're not going to have people like ourselves left anymore. We are targeted. We're being eliminated. My 2 sons are dead. That's a fact. My daughter's with Rios and Associates, the attorney they provided to steal my work, and even it was related to Lenny Coco as paralegal. His nephew is basically with my daughter. So we don't have much time left, but there's going to be a silent period. It's even in the Mortals itself. We said, we only have a little bit of time left. So it's time to actually do critical thinking. Help us solve the problem. Help us finish this. Otherwise, you're going to see us disappear. And you can believe what you want, that we were suicidal or something, that we were mass murderers. Believe what you want, but our work talks for itself. And I'm speaking for all these other writers and other people like yourself that have the ability to stand up. It's not a bleak picture if we stand together. It's not a bleak picture if we look at the critical evidence. They're losing, they're panicking, they're jumping out of 74-story windows. They're turning on each other. Falwell just got revealed. Robertson's going down. Spielberg's being revealed. Disney just fired Bob Iger after we did an interview. We've got also Mike Lang falling. He sent those emails, he couldn't block it. They just failed in their attempt outside my window the other day where they brought in the guys, they left. So the thing is, we're winning, they're panicking. It's time to do the critical thinking, the research, go to the websites, take a look at what we got, and finish this and help my last son live as with other writers and visionaries. Otherwise, you can have an empty planet where everybody does believe everyone's evil.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think that if you really look for a little bit of hope here in this situation, I think that you can find that in the silent majority and the patriots around the world and what Q has done. You know, there are millions of Q followers in the world, millions, and they're all around the world, and they are awake.
And we're helping the Q movement.
Well, the thing is, once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. It's just impossible. You just can't, unless they were to, like, you know, force it on you or kill you all or whatever, which we know they can't do that. There's too many of us. So, and if you look at like the boat parades, you know, the Trump boat parades and whatnot, I mean, these are the people who make up that mass of people that they're assumed to be dumb and ignorant and malleable and cheap, but they're not. They're absolutely not. And so that's a message of hope I want to kind of leave us on.
There's a hope also that the media is controlled by 6 corporations, basically, and it's all like Murdoch, these kind of guys. They're the ones banning us. Like, we just got banned from a video before, an interview. Fox, which is owned by Disney, did it. The thing is that The media has this hold on what you're getting, basically mainstream, but that's going to change. It's a paper wall. It's going to end, and we're going to see a lot of people coming up that actually knew, were smart, coming together. That's what's in the screenplay too, is the remnant gathering, the people that actually knew and stood up through all this and didn't sell out. Take pride if you haven't sold out. Take pride if you did critical thinking. This new world's coming for you, and it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it is. We are gonna win. You know, God wins, right? And the good side wins. But I also just kind of want to insert. You're reminding me of a movie called Vanity Fair. I believe it was a book before that, one of the classics. But I did watch the movie. I didn't read the book. It stars, I think, Reese Witherspoon. It's really brilliant. And if you haven't watched it, I would recommend it, because what it basically, and I don't mean to give this away, but I'm going to share this because it's really relevant, I think, where the main character fights and fights. She says, I am determined. I am going to rise the ranks from poverty and nobodiness into the ranks of the inner circle of the elite of wherever the heck she is, probably somewhere in England. And, you know, she does it. She's smart. She puts her her creative skill set to work, and she gets there. And there's this really good scene where she's met at the threshold of the room that is like where all the inner circle high society people are meeting, and where they go and no one's ever allowed in that aren't part of that group. And this man who's kind of appreciated her the whole time for who she really is, and doesn't really want her to try to become this, you know, fake version of herself. He's in the room. Somehow he's managed to maintain his sanity in the midst of those people. And that's the alarm we're gonna have to end soon. But he stops her at the door and he says, you know, are you sure you want to do this? You don't need to. There's really nothing to see here. There's nothing here. And she's like, I have come this far, and no one's stopping me now. She pushes her way into the room, and she sees pretty quickly that they're all just standing around. They have nothing to do or say. They're just empty. And she plays the piano for them. But it really, really hit me hard. It's like a really well done message.
Beautiful.
They're in that inner circle of power that they train us and program us to want and to covet and to try to reach. There's nothing there but this evil crappiness that they are. It's terrible. So getting there does not get you anywhere. Staying on the ground, in touch with the earth, in touch with real people, in touch with each other, that's where the real good stuff is. They never reach.
You're right. And my son said something to me yesterday. It was so meaningful. He said, Dad, you've gone through this, 30 years, and I've gone through this my whole life. And he said, we did it, Dad. We did it. We made it, and we made a difference. And for my son to say that as a father, it was such a great moment. It's like, he's basically saying, Dad, you did the right thing, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah, you did. And I just don't want you to lose hope. I know that you're in a situation that's extremely traumatic, and that you even mentioned tonight today you do have PTSD from some of the things you've been through.
I do have that.
I think that that's the moment where they want you to give up. And that's the moment where it's easiest to give up, because it's so scary and it's so exhausting. But that's the moment where it's like darkest before dawn. And, it sounds like you've got it well in hand. And that's why I really wanted to encourage people to draw forth, some discussion of, well, what are you doing to counter what they're doing? Because I want the audience to not be like, oh God, and fall into that panic state of like, what are we going to do? This is sucks.
Exactly.
So just know that
Aiden is safe. He's safe now with a brilliant family. He's getting straight A's. I'm down here with him. And he's in school, at a great school with really good security. He's learning to play soccer. He wants to be a surgeon. He is also going out for theater. I said, I want you to have a normal life, Aiden. And so basically he's set, the 302s are failing, everything's failing, and they know it. And you're going to see more heads roll probably after this interview also. But redpillrising.org is still functioning good. It's there. Aiden actually wants to come on sometime on air and show that he's not, somebody doesn't exist, because now the other side's saying he never existed and he didn't make the footage of the father's journey.
Yeah, you should do that soon. You should do that very soon. And I think, pardon me for giving you unsolicited advice, but I'm going to do it. Just listening to what you're saying, get a security detail, get at least 2 guards, and keep them, with you. And don't like, this is a time where it makes sense,
I do feel the responsibility of that. There's a lot that I have, like they call me the library at Disney, as I said. So I need to relay this information. We're working on the book now and the documentary also. The reason I'm able to do all this, even with PTSD, is I've got some amazing, amazing friends. So many of them have been through this. They've been approached, they've lasted. and they're the ones you can't buy off. And I put you among that. And it's just, I really appreciate you guys so much. And that's why I'm able to finish it. That's why.
Yeah, this is gonna be one. I can just tell it's gonna happen. There's no other way about it. If the alternative is so evil and so bad, and this is kind of an analogy with the campaign and the election. This is probably the most important election in our history, based on the stakes that are involved here.
Yeah, I think there's like stuff just bubbled up like a head on a beer, and it's just gonna knock the foam off, and we'll have a great world.
We actually have a chance to take these people down a very big notch and get them to their knees and make it really difficult for them to follow through on their NWO plan that they had hoped to put Hillary in place to carry out. So
there you go. Their context said we've already won the chess game, so there's something right there. So we hold the key. We can finish.
Well, Tom, I want to thank you for your time, and I'm glad to see that you're doing well, and I'm so glad to hear you've got some measures in place to kind of keep fighting. And I'm glad to get this update, and I'll try to get this out and published soon so people can see this. And so thank you, and stay in touch, and have a great rest of your day. Be safe.
Thanks for what you're doing.
No problem. My pleasure. Bye.